We're here at the Speed Duel Olympics, where Blue Eyes White Dragon is about to expectedly win the 100-yard dash. 3, 2, 1, go! And oh my God, it's Relinquished! Oh no! The reign of Blue Eyes has come to a swift end! Oh, Jesus! He's still coming!
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. I hear you hogs. Oink oink, where's the Speed Duel content we crave? Well, don't worry, you swine. I'm here to deliver only the finest slop to your eager gullets. And boy, are today's lists sloppy. The format's evolved, Attack from the Deep is out, and it's time to check out what horrors have arisen from our dark mother, the sea. Firstly, and, obviously, is Relinquished. Relinquished is a Tier 2-ish deck from last format that just received a couple of extremely powerful pieces of support, one of which is playable. By integrating Sonic Bird into main decks, the strategy's remaining weakness, consistency, has all but been eliminated. Now the deck has the ability to make Relinquished on command and repeatedly while maintaining enough meaty munguses in Senju and Sonic to mount an offense. Arguably just as important as Sonic Bird, however, is the release of a new skill that promises to push Relinquished far over the edge. At first glance, It's My Lucky Day seems like garden variety Joey RNG-ery, but upon closer examination it has troubling implications. Two very specific cards, Dicephoon and Time Wizard, break this skill in half. It turns unreliable Pack Chaff into Heavy Storm Duster and Regeki for the low cost of 1,000 life points. Of course, the trade-off is that it eats up your skill, but for a deck that was unironically considering Millennium Necklace, that's not that big of a deal. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, we're on 3 of each of our Manjus in training, Sonic Bird and Senju. After that, we're on 3 Sphere Karibo, followed by 3 of the Suck Daddy himself. For spells, we're on 3 Black Illusion Ritual and 3 Dicephoon doing its best impression of Harpy's Feather Duster. For traps, we're on 2 Windstorm. So with that, let's jump into a game. Our match is up against Catch of the Day, a deck named for an exclusive Mako Tsunami skill that attempts to use a legendary fisherman in order to accrue very early advantage very quickly. Thankfully, we are going second, which means we'll have an opportunity to suck should our opponents summon anything. They unfortunately for us elect not to, setting 2 cards and passing. This game showcases the innate power of Dicephoon, but I'm not going to activate it just yet. Instead, I'm going to normal summon a copy of Sonic Bird, add a Black Illusion Ritual to hand, set a card, and get in while the gettin's good. We get in for 1,400 points of damage, after which our opponent activates Dust Tornado in the end phase, destroying our set Windstorm of Ataqua. With what they believe to be shields down, they pop off as hard as possible. They'll normal summon a copy of High Tide Gyojin, activate Big Wave Small Wave, and there's the man. Afterwards, they'll activate Catch of the Day, which activates an Umi from deck. Should this legendary fisherman connect, we are in hot water. So when they go to battle phase, we're going to activate the effective Sphere Karibo to switch that sucker to defense position. Afterwards, we draw, and what do you know, it's one of the 6 ways in our deck to find Relinquished. We'll lead with a Dicephoon, picking 5 with It's My Lucky Day. That deals 1,000 points of damage to us, but it's a small price to pay for peace of mind. We'll destroy both the set card, a Windstorm of Ataqua, and Umi, preventing any further pluses. Afterwards, we'll normal summon a copy of Senju, and fail to read it. Let's just go ahead and put that Black Illusion Ritual back for a Relinquished. Perfect. Before activating Black Illusion Ritual, banishing a copy of Sphere Karibo, and assembling lethal damage with our board. Secondly, we're taking a look at water? I'm not exactly sure what we're supposed to call this since the whole pack is soggy and wet, so let's just go with Slushy. This deck uses its namesake card to special summon Levia Dragon Daedalus as often as possible. By getting Daedalus dead, you're able to revive it with very little effort, and if things go belly up, you can always stall with Yomi's ship and special the Serpent with Big Wave Small Wave. Slushy's a little frustrating insofar as you need to find more than 1 in order to get them all into the graveyard, unless, of course, you take advantage of Mako's skill, the World's Greatest Fisherman. This allows you to dump your cloggy Daedaluses from your hand to the graveyard, recycling a Slushy and getting the Sinister Serpent right where you want him. It's also quite good at recycling Yomi ships, representing both repeatable removal spells and a wet win-con alike. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, for monsters, we're on 3 Levia Dragon Daedalus who never clogs by the grace of Mako's god, 3 Slushy, 3 Sphere Karibo, and 3 Yomi's ship. For spells, we're on 2 Big Wave Small Wave and 3 Umi to pop off with Daedalus. Finally, for traps, we're on 3 Windstorm of Ataqua. So with that, let's jump into a game. Our match is up against a very similar deck, employing a very similar RPS strategy. Okay, wait, the third paper is going to do it. Ah, shoot. Okay, the fourth paper. The fifth paper. Ah, dang it. All right. Well, like us, our opponent is attempting to summon Daedalus, but unlike us, they're doing so with Mako Tsunami's skill that places Umi on their side of the field. Effectively, they're trading consistency for power. We are going first and will lead with a copy of Slushy. This hand is immaculate. We'll be able to send a second copy of Slushy to the graveyard with its effect, before sending a copy of Windstorm of Ataqua and passing it back to our opponent. Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Moray of Greed. I don't love this card because, well, it often clogs, especially in late game, but in this specific instance, they'll be able to reveal both a Daedalus and a Yomi ship, shuffling both of them back into the deck to draw 3 cards. Hey, whatever floats your boat. Afterwards, they're going to set 2 cards and summon, what do you know, a Slushy of their own. They'll send a copy of Slushy from deck to graveyard. Usually this card isn't able to crash with opposing Slushy, but because there's an Umi on their side of the field, they in fact can. That's great news for us because it means the world's greatest fisherman is going to do exactly what we want in this instance. For turn we draw, second big wave, small wave. We really don't need that. But it shouldn't matter too much. We'll activate the effect of the world's greatest fisherman, discarding this copy of Daedalus to add a Slushy to our hand. By normal summoning the Slushy, we can now send the third copy from our deck to the graveyard, and once this Slushy leaves the board, we are able to special summon. We'll get in for a little bit of chip damage in the interim, dealing 200 to our opponent's life points before we pass it back. They normal summon a Yomi ship and attack into our copy of Slushy. That's fantastic because it represents just about the minimum amount of damage we could take in this scenario. We'll take a fat 800 life point beat and then draw our card. It's a Daedalus off the top, which is not fantastic, but this is where our deck specifically shines. We have the recursion to afford to be able to send this copy of Daedalus directly into the Yomi ship. Our opponent will take it, go down to 2,000 points of life, and then destroy our copy of Daedalus. Remember, it's returning next turn. Our opponent will draw, they'll set a card, and then pass it back. For turn, we're able to draw. Sheesh, a Sphere Karibo. Well, it's a little bit bricky, but at the very least we are making progress. We'll banish a Slushy from graveyard to bring back Daedalus and attack directly. This should be the end of the game, but with 3 spells and traps, at least one is going to be a Windstorm of Ataqua. Our opponent will draw, recognize they don't have the out, and concede. And finally, I regret to inform you that Burn is playable. First proven in side events from a couple of WCQs, this list represents one of 2 takes on the archetype, the other of which uses a Gravekeeper's Curse, Wonder Wand, and Rite of Spirit package to repeatedly ping for 500. This one supplants that engine for actually good cards, and a suite of spellcasters to recycle the best card in the deck, Mask of the Accursed. Effectively, this list aims to stall until you find Amazoness Swordsman, then leverage a couple of cheaty attacks with Half Shut. Now, you may realize that this list lacks a method by which to win the game should your opponent win the die roll and pass 20 times. This is where Viral Infestation comes in. If your opponent continuously passes, you can deck them twice as fast by chewing the cards from their deck. Once you get a good idea of what your opponent's doing, you can also start targeting their outs so your masks are likely to stick. So with that, let's get into the card by card. We're on 3 copies of Amazoness Swordswoman, 3 Zombina to recycle Amazoness Swordswoman, 3 Apprentice Magician, and 1 Magician of Faith. For spells, we're on 3 Half Shut, which stalls and burns, and 3 Mask of the Accursed, our win condition. Finally, we're on 3 Windstorm, and since I had 1 card left over, I decided to play a Ready for Intercepting since it's good against Relinquished. So with that, let's jump into a game. Our match is up against Lucky Day Spellcaster, so strap yourselves in, it's going to be a long one. Our opener is not particularly good for going first. It's very reactive, but at least we have an Apprentice Magician. We'll go ahead and set that and pass it back to our opponent, daring them to take any action. Unfortunately, they have immediately sussed out what we're doing and elect to T-set, passing it back to us. We draw a Swordswoman, who will hypothetically be important on some future turn. They'll set an additional card and pass it back to us. We'll draw a copy of Magician of Faith and pass it back to them. They'll set a field spell in what has to be the biggest flex I have seen in Speed Duels as of yet. We're going to set a Zombina, at least we're making progress. Our opponent's going to set a monster as well, and eventually we'll run out of zones. We elect to go ahead and set a spell or trap this time, spicy, and our opponent's going to pass. Like it or not, liberals, this is peak Yu-Gi-Oh! Thankfully, I decide that it's probably time to start going for the kill, so I'll flip over this copy of Viral Infestation. Now, any deck is going to play some number of spells, so I elect to call spell, discarding an Apprentice Magician. Our opponent discards a Graceful Dice, and immediately I figure out what's up. That set card has got to be It's My Lucky Day. That's exceptionally upsetting, however, because it means the Time Wizard will probably be making an appearance this game. We're going to discard a copy of Zombina, calling spell once again, getting a second copy of Graceful Dice, and hoping that this is the winning line. Our opponent's going to activate Dicephoon, and that's upsetting. They are not going to activate Lucky Day, instead raw rolling a 5 to destroy our spells and traps. Afterwards, they'll set a spell and trap of their own before passing it back to us. Things are still looking pretty good. As long as we can time walk our opponent a couple of times, we can probably deck them. They'll pass once again. We'll go ahead and activate Viral Infestation, calling spell, and they'll discard their last copy of Dicephoon. Unfortunately for me, I don't know it's the last copy, which you'll see in a second. They will now reveal the Time Wizard that has been hiding all these years, and its partner in crime, It's My Lucky Day. They'll blow up our board, but unfortunately for them, Zombina triggers no matter how it's sent to the graveyard. We'll bring back a copy of Amazona's Swordswoman, and they'll pass. We draw a copy of Windstorm of Ataqua, and we're going to discard a Magician of Faith, calling spell once again, before they reveal to us a deck full of monsters. Afterwards, we're going to activate Mask of the Accursed, now that we finally have accursed targets. This is going to do damage to them eventually, though damage isn't how I'm expecting to win this game. Our opponent's going to flip summon a mystical elf and activate double kunai in order to get over our Amazonas. That's fine with me. It's effectively the same as a Time Walk, and we have a couple of Windstorms in our grip. We're going to draw for turn, and what do you know, we just happen to have a second copy of Mask of the Accursed. We'll go ahead and equip it to the Mystical Elf, discarding Windstorm and Half Shut to get 2 monsters out of our opponent's deck. Now all we have to do is survive 1 additional turn, so I'll go ahead and set my remaining monster with a Windstorm as well. Our opponent will lead with a copy of Graceful Dice, hitting 4. Wow, that's pretty good. Maybe they are Joey in real life. Another Raw Typhoon, which, what do you know, just so happens to do exactly what you want in this specific instance. Thankfully, it shouldn't be enough. They'll set a spell and trap, flip summon their second copy of Mystical Elf, and go for the kill, provided this Mystical Elf can get over the set card, which of course it cannot. They'll take 200 points of damage, attack over our copy of Amazonas with their remaining Mystical Elf, and pass it back. Now all we have to do is pass the turn, and the game ends. So that's that. While I appreciate all of my viewers, a special thanks to my patrons, especially Colin Whalen, Michael Salmuir, Adam Trevino, Ace Enigma, Adrian Bra, Distrin, and Lucas Geerdes. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/mbtygo every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.